You set to go?
Yep.
All right, good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alicia, can you take roll, please?
Yes. Lori Blargen.
Here.
Ian McDonald.
Here.
Matt Kukoc.
Here.
Lacey Oster. Bruce Blargen.
Here.
Sheree Link.
Here.
Marge Below.
Here.
District mission. Together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
First by
I'll second.
Second with Ian. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Open forum, I got requests for two. First one will be Roxanne. I'll just read the instructions quick and then I'll have you step up. Regarding public comment, opinions and ideas contributed by students, parents, staff, and other citizens are valuable to the school board. All comments shall be directed to the board and not to staff or other meeting attendees. All statements should be directed to me, as no person may address or question board members individually. The board will receive such input without comment or take no action relative to any items brought forth. We may direct the district administrator to consider such an item at an appropriate place on the agenda or a subsequent meeting. Per board policy, your public comment will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. You may begin your public comment by stating your name and address, and I'll have a board member start a timer before you begin. Roxanne? Bruce, get a timer? Yeah.
Roxanne Kendall, 286 Arbor Hills Drive, Holton, Wisconsin. I'm opposed to parents deciding what is appropriate reading for all students in our district. It's simple. If you don't want your child reading certain books, you have the choice to restrict their reading material. You don't have the right to take away books from students whose families support uncensored reading. How about having conversations with your children about what you deem appropriate reading material without infringing on families who support uncensored reading? If you can't trust your child to obey your rules, how is that an entire school district's problem? Students can go to the library down the street for these books, but students in this public school deserve book accessibility in the buildings they are in every day. It's disgusting that adults are going out of their way to remove books from our schools. Kids will find what they want on the internet if they turn to coming-of-age books to learn more about the world around them, their curiosities and struggles, in a relatively controlled environment. These books might spark conversations with parents, counselors, and other trusted adults about the subject matter. These books might spark activism to protect human rights, might be the only ally an LGBTQ student has, might explain teenage angst and learning they are not alone, will encourage critical thinking, open up the world around them, accept others for who they are, etc. Banning books sends a message to our students who may benefit from them that they are unworthy of our support. Allowing these parents to influence you and potentially have you determine what is deemed appropriate for confused and marginalized students is dangerous. Have we not learned anything from history and the slippery slope that is book censorship? Over the past couple years, I've witnessed parents insisting on imposing their family beliefs on an entire public school system, caused disruption at board meetings, harassed board members and teachers, and are now trying to limit educational materials for students. Where does it end? This parent has had enough. It's exhausting and ugly and divisive and detrimental to the well-being of our kids. You parents don't speak for my family, and we don't need your protection. This is the list of 33 books under review in our district. I question whether parents seeking to ban these books have read them or conveniently cherry-pick text to advance their agenda. No original thought was put into this. Online and social media groups such as Moms for Liberty, ironic, and others like them are using parents as pawns and providing roadmaps to advance their political agendas while disrupting our schools in the name of protecting students.
30 seconds.
Anecdotally, Watered for Elephants is a beautiful novel set during the Depression with a carpe diem message. Slaughterhouse-Five was required reading material for me in high school. It coincided with World War II curriculum and describes the ugliness of war. The Bluest Eye describes the challenges of being poor and black in a racist world. One can stand in the
3
characters.
minutes.
Okay.
Jay? Jay. Yeah.
Jay Emmert, 286 Arbor Hills Court, Holton. I'd like to defer the rest of my time to Roxanne Kendall.
Bluest Eye describes the challenges of being poor and black in a racist world. One can stand in the character's fictional shoes for a better understanding of lives quite different from ours. The Handmaid's Tale is a fictional account of dystopian society in which women are stripped of their rights and reproductive choices. An excellent book to spark activism if a student so chooses. The writing in The Kite Runner is superb, and I learned a lot about the country of Afghanistan and its culture. 19 Minutes is centered around a school shooting. Our students practice lockdown drills for this. Why can't they read a book about it? Your concern about parent concerns about blankets include controversial political commentary. I hope I'm not alone in calling out the hypocrisy of this. And the profanity argument, our kids are exposed to bumper stickers, truck decals, signs, t-shirts with profanity all over our area. It's used in books by authors for emphasis, and the authors know what they are doing. Now bear with me, I love the Bible, it's a beautiful book, but this is considered appropriate reading material for kids. These bookmarks are just some of the material that is also included as concerns on this list. Many of us have this book freely accessible in our home bookshelves, and we celebrate it at church with our families. Protecting virtue was used to describe this local outrage, which is a term used in Christian theological dogma. So one could deduce that this might be an important book to at least one of these parents. Yet here we are censoring books with almost all of the same content because parents decided to hop on the book police bandwagon. The only difference is the shelves on which it sits. Again, clear hypocrisy. On the shelves on which they sit, again, clear hypocrisy. This isn't about protecting kids from scary books. It's a power grab and political grandstanding spurred by an angry internet mob at the expense of our students. These books have already been removed from our school shelves during the review process, which is disappointing, but allowed under policy 2522. Between the review and appeal processes, these books will be unavailable for a long time, months, years, who knows. Extremist parental biases for the win. Parents and students, you need to get involved.
30 seconds.
The people behind these media movements are determined to take away your books. And they aren't just coming for school libraries, they're going for public libraries too. If we can help one kid by being vocal about book censorship, it will have been worth it. Libraries are gateways to free and unlimited knowledge, students. All but one of these books are available. I will donate the missing book to the Somerset Library soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roxanne. Thanks, Jay. Anyone else here for public comment? Hearing none, we will move on to reports.
Alright, our March recap. Our high school, we started off with March with Shrek the Musical, which was a very good success. They almost sold out every single show. And then the juniors took their ACT on March 7th, and the robotics team also went to state this month. And coming up will be on Wednesday, the freshmen and sophomore will be taking their pre-ACTs while everyone else has their virtual day, and then student council and NHS will be going to help with Feed My Starving Children on Friday. So spring break this week, and then basically everything. Oh, sorry.
I didn't even know you were explaining. Sorry.
The middle school, they had their Chili Charitable Week was through February 27th and March 3rd. They collected 980 pounds of food and donated to the Somerset Community Food Pantry. And then they had fleece blankets which they made 150 fleece blankets and donated it to different organizations and shelters. These were the February students of the month, and these were the March students of the month. So, the elementary school had their 3rd grade concert, which talked about friendship, and they had sign language with help from high schoolers. And then the partners, pastries, and paired reading, which is where like their families would come in and would help with their reading. And then the elementary school also read 123,456 minutes as a whole during the readathon, and they'll be having a party to celebrate their excellence on that. And then this was our fine arts festival that happened at the end of February, like beginning of March. So, and all of our spring sports are all in action. So, yeah, there will also be a softball bingo on Saturday. So 12 to 4, you guys should all come out, support softball. Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's at Rendezvous.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Spartan Spotlight. High school robotics team is here.
Yes, we are
Yeah.
here to celebrate our robotics team and their awesome season, and Eric Olson is here to.
You bet, and let's bring the robots out, because otherwise I'll bore them. So yes, we traveled to the same place the girls' basketball state was, the Rush Expo, and we competed, and it's the top 48 teams in the state, and so, and then we had 10 matches. And then after that, they rank them from 1 to 48. And then you pick an alliance or a team that you're going to go with. And the game, these are 3 of our robots. And the game was to pick up these flying discs. So we pick them up off the ground. And then shoot them into, if you ever played disc golf or disc frisbee golf, don't be shooting them at me now. And shoot them into what we call the high goal. So that's one way to score it. The other way to score it, you can see, you want to pause this one for a second? Right here, and you can see that they all have ways to do rollers. And it's like something that you would roll dough out, but it's got red on one side, blue on the other, and if you're on the blue team, you would then spin the roller to your side. And then at the end of the game, so that's, well, first we'll start from the beginning. There's a 15-second autonomous mode that they program. And why don't we all stand up here? So, where they program their robots to go autonomously, so they're not doing anything with the remotes. And then that if you win the autonomous or lose, they score that. And then they said they pick up the disc, shoot them, and that's a minute 45 driver control. And at the end, they had called this thing called the end game. And the end game is any tile that the robot is touching, you get 3 points. And to do that, you can see these things here, and I'm going to rotate this around. They shoot out. And I think that's probably what they had the most fun with, and also the most frustration, is the fact they can make things explode. So at the end of the game, just and shoots like confetti out on the thing. And we were, for the first time ever, all 4 of our teams qualified to come back in the tournament. Because usually we'll have 1 or 2 teams that don't. And unfortunately, we lost in the first of the rounds of 16. We made the Sweet 16, but then we lost, basically. So, Amy, did I forget anything? What did I forget?
Eyeballs.
So,
Eric, you want to bring them up and
Yes,
maybe
please come on
introduce
up.
each student?
If I kind of come up more towards the smart board, I can change the
Okay.
camera angle.
Yeah, come on up.
better.
Come on up.
Okay, yeah.
All right, and so I'll just, and we have 14 people. This is the group that was able to make it. And why don't I just have you go around. We're going to start with you, Riley, and we'll just kind of work there, and you go introduce yourself.
I'm Riley Goswich, and I'm on team 9144D, and I'm their driver.
Whoop, whoop.
My name is Owen Caroon. I'm on team 9144E, and I'm the driver.
My name's Paige. I'm on team 9144B, and I helped build.
My name is Alex Garoon. I'm on 9144D2 and I help build.
I'm Patient Kirshner. I'm on 9144C and I coded the robot and drive it.
I'm Brendan Conway, and I'm on team 9144E, and I helped build.
I don't know.
Just introduce yourself and like you're an announcer. And
I'm Maximus Conway, and I got to announce at the Somerset one. So.
Harrison Below, and I was on team 9144B, and I helped build, design, and do the engineering notebook.
I'm Brianna Mondar. I'm on team 9144D, and I help build.
Hooray!
When they start, are these stripped down to absolutely nothing? Do you build from complete scratch?
yes, like you ever dealt with an erector set? That's basically their erector set with motors. So they are. I won't let them take these apart because we'll use them for demonstration. But yeah, they're all, as you're looking at them, they're all like pieces like this or this.
And each team can build to whatever configuration they.
Within an 18 by 18 by 18 box. Basically.
And they have to. You said there's a code. You have to code it. Radios, everything. It's all.
Yes, everything
They do
that you're seeing, like the driver, they have to code that. They had to also code the autonomous mode that you're not seeing. That takes a lot of time.
I can run it.
So
No,
I don't.
We already saw that.
I don't know if we need that going. That could be a little bit out of control when we don't know the setup.
So Eric, could you speak to, obviously this is a unique opportunity for kids at Somerset High School. Typically you have to travel quite far to even be able to engage in competitions and things because many high schools around our area don't have this. Can you maybe speak to that?
Yes, we're very fortunate. We're the only school in our conference that I know of that has a Bex robotics team, and I don't know, some may have a different type of robotics team. So the closest match to us besides our home match is Rice Lake. And then Whitehall is the other close school that competes. There's a lot of schools over in Minnesota right next door, but we can't qualify for the state tournament, and so we could go closer, but then for rules that I have tried to have them change, we can't go to their state tournament, so we need to go into Minnesota. Wausau also has a team. So I think we're very fortunate that Somerset does have a robotics team and that we give this opportunity to students. And as you can see, I mean, students are programming, they're building, they're problem solving, all the things that we all want our kids to do. And they get extremely good at it because, not because they really necessarily love it, though a lot of them do, they want to win, so that's why they become better programmers and better, try to build a better robot. And so that incentivizes the learning that happens, which of course I love, as a teacher and as a coach. So.
Are other schools able to, like Somerset's hockey team has other schools that can join in? Are there other schools that are able to do that, or it is by school? So if somebody from Osceola wanted to join the team, or
Yeah, I don't know that answer. And actually, somebody else asked that question not too long ago.
Together when someone asked that, yeah.
And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'd be more than happy for that. I would love to see schools around our area have it, because I believe it's a little bit of a neglect of duty to not have a team like this in a high school. Because there's a huge demand for it in the industry, for one thing, and there's a huge demand for it in schools. These are skills that is wanted and needed, and also it's skills that these kids have, and a lot of times in other schools, they're not being celebrated for it. And you know, I think we're very fortunate, I feel very fortunate that here in Somerset we are. And so.
Excellent, well, thank you.
Awesome. Riley, no, you
We're going out the door.
I think.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. We're in the back, so.
Thank you so much for coming.
You bet. Thank you.
Sherry got it.
Probably kill your questions.
Thank you.
After this, we'll be designing a snowball.
And vacuums and.
What?
Eric, how heavy are they on average?
I would say the heaviest would be about 35 pounds, but the lighter, that's why we have aluminum. The lighters, the better. We are faster, more efficient, and we try to keep them around, 15.
All right, superintendent's report.
Listening.
Oh, sorry, listening session, sorry.
Cherie and Bruce and I were all here, and we had one speaker. Cherie, do you want to talk about some of the things?
Sure, yeah. So we have the Community Action Project meeting on Wednesday, and it's going to be in the multipurpose room here at Somerset. And it's just every 10 years, each community needs to put together their plan for their future. And it's been a lot of collaboration and a lot of great ideas, and so it will be culminating in their presentations Wednesday. Reception starts at 5:30. Presentation starts at 6, and I would encourage anyone in the community to attend that. You'll learn a lot of great ideas and hopefully be a part of change and future.
I'm sorry, did you say 6? Start time?
6, yep, start time.
That was the Community Action
Planning
Committee.
Yep. CAP.
She also had a lot of, I thought, really good suggestions for the informational meeting tomorrow night.
Oh.
She was wondering if it was possible to video it.
Yeah, someone else had asked me that too.
And she also talked about how last time we had a representative from PMA, and that somebody asked them a question about how can it possibly be just $2 per 100,000 of value? And so the PMI representative explained the whole process.
Sure.
And how wonderful it would be if we could have that presented as part of the video, because apparently there's a lot of talk on Facebook.
Sure.
About that particular piece.
Yep, and he'll be back, so that'll be good. Okay, we can have him address that.
He'll be here tomorrow?
Yes. Yep.
Was there anything else, Bruce or Cherie, that? Okay.
All right, thank you. Now to the superintendent.
Yes, okay. So I have a couple things. I linked on the agenda a copy of policy 0166, because really I just want your input and thoughts. It's nothing we need action on tonight. But this question had come up a couple times, which is a really good question, regarding the agendas for meetings and ensuring that reports and notes and all things are linked, by Wednesday before the work session, the regular meeting at 3 o'clock when Alicia sends that out. So there have been times where presenters have asked that we wait to link a presentation until after it's been given, just to be able to give some of the context that comes along with presenting, you know, something public. So like Officer Kerber's presentation that he gave a couple weeks ago, or I know they're linked on here, but another example could be like the budget presentations and those kinds of things. Because there have been times where pieces of those presentations ahead of the meeting get pulled out and have been put on Facebook and community page and those kinds of things. And then without the context around it, things kind of start to spin where we get inaccurate information and those kinds of things. So I want to make sure you have what you need as board members to make sure you're coming into meetings prepared. And so there have been a couple times where I have left off some of those reports intentionally, but want you guys to have a discussion of like, nope, Shannon, no matter what, let's put it on there so we can all see it ahead of time, which is great. Or, you know, is it helpful if I communicate to you that, you know, so-and-so will be giving a presentation, because they're always linked afterwards. It's just kind of that midpoint between a presentation is public and it hasn't been presented yet, which I've seen now on more than one occasion, which has caused some negativity on, shocker, social media. So want to just get your thoughts. If we leave it as is, awesome. Then I'll just make sure that from now on I link everything ahead of time by 3 o'clock. I've kind of made a couple times the executive decision to keep it off there, but want to make sure that I'm doing what's helpful for you guys to feel prepared.
So would it be appropriate to put this on our next work session agenda so we can have a discussion about it? Because on the agenda right now, it's just part of the superintendent's report.
Yep, I don't need any action. It was just really, it kind of popped up again last week, so I thought, oh, well, I'm thinking of it. Let's just kind of put it on your radar. So we definitely can bring it back. It gives you a little time, maybe think about it too, of what your preference is. Again, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge pressing issue, but want to at least put it on your radar that there have been times where things have been linked afterwards, and that's kind of been the thought process behind it. But I want to make sure you have what you need ahead of a meeting. So,
is everyone in agreement with bringing it to the next work session? Yeah. Pretty good.
Cool. Okay. I'm going to go just a little bit out of order here. So just going to touch on referendum update. So we have our second community meeting tomorrow night, 6:30 at the high school. Again, we'll have, as Lori kind of mentioned, an entire team of people there ready to answer questions from Market Johnson, Wold Architects, PMA, who does all our financial planning, to be able to answer tax questions, kind of like Lori was indicating. You know, have a presentation, plenty of time for question and answer. Continuing to encourage people to attend. When we had one 2 weeks ago, I think it's really helpful for those that do attend, but again, the attendance was pretty low. Hoping that people will take advantage of the opportunity to learn accurate information to be able to vote whatever makes sense for them on the 4th. So we've got that coming up, so hopefully people come. I'm going to circle back to what you guys shared from the listening session. I have had probably more than a handful of people ask about videotaping it, so I will talk to Brandon. We'll see if we can make that happen. Of course, my preference is, you know, to get people in person, but of course, if that doesn't work, this is certainly another good option just to make sure people can listen to the information if that makes more sense. So, but otherwise, the time is kind of counting down here to the April 4th vote, so just make sure you're informed, continuing to put information on our website, and encouraging people to visit that as well. So my last part, had a really great day today regarding our new strategic plan development. So Partner Ed, the company that we're working with to kind of help us facilitate this process, came into the buildings today. We had 4 focus group meetings, so we met with the staff of the elementary, middle, high school, and then met with the support staff as well. Kind of taking them through a process of identifying things that people like that are happening in the district right now, and things we want to kind of keep going. Things that people wish, like big thinking, you know, if you had no limitations, you know, what are some things you'd like to see happening in our district? And then any wonders that people have. And great dialogue, some really good ideas. It's just another example, I think, of just watching the passion and action that we have as a staff here of just wanting our district to be amazing, celebrating the wonderful things that we're doing, really good dialogue of ways to continue to talk about continuous improvement and how do we just be better at what we do. You know, we've mentioned social media here a little bit tonight, and I wanna touch on that because I think one of the biggest themes that came up today from every single group, and I would say I lost track of how many times this came up, is staff in our buildings and our campus feeling like our community is not supporting what's happening in our schools. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking referendum, that will come and go. I'm really talking about the narrative and kind of the toxicity that has been created on social media regarding our school district. And for me, as I kind of watch this unfold today and I'm listening to staff talk about how Facebook has started to impact how they function at their job every day, that for me is a huge red flag, and I want to just bring it up here. I'm not expecting the board to do anything. I know I can't control it either, but if one person is listening in terms of really thinking about the things that we are posting on social media about our schools, about our staff, it's feeling like, you know, we have a subgroup of people in our community that are hoping that our schools don't do well and are looking for ways that our school is falling down. And are we perfect? Nope. We've got lots of things to work on, and believe me, we spend lots of time talking about it. But we have amazing staff, amazing kids, amazing families, and watching things be put out on Facebook that are just flat out inaccurate and not true, I feel like I've kind of reached my limit as I'm looking about, you know, and again, I don't subscribe to these groups, but people send me stuff and, you know, comments about student achievement, and, you know, yes, let's own where we are. Let's own that, yep, it wasn't great, and let's own the fact and celebrate that things are looking up and doing well, which is great. But looking at, you know, links that people are putting out there of just outdated, obscure information from 7-8 years ago, inaccurate data, inaccurate analysis of what the data means. I would love that if someone has a question about student achievement, like, call a principal, call me, call someone and say, man, I'm looking at this and it looks like things haven't gone well. Can you tell me more about it? I would love for those things to happen. I saw comments about, you know, reduced instructional minutes. That's not true. Questions about honors classes at the high school. Let's talk about that, right? It doesn't mean we have to agree with it or that we're going to agree on the decision that was made. But let's post information that's at least accurate and true, right? I saw information about reduced electives at the high school. That's not true. Revisiting the Laude system, which now, that was 8 years ago. Prescott, Hudson, Osceola, River Falls, St. Croix Central, all have the Laude system. That isn't unique just to Somerset, and that doesn't mean that we're producing or creating an inferior academic environment for our kids. Staff turnover. I know, holy buckets, it's a national issue. Let's talk about that and wrap our arms around how do we help fix that here in Somerset. Because I can tell you that prospective people that are looking to come here look at those things that are being written about our district and of our community. That's not helping staff wanting to stay or come here. I've had 2 times in the last 2 weeks, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here because I've kind of had it here. 2 times in the last 2 weeks where I've had staff members, because I'm notorious for taking pictures of things and celebrating and all that kind of stuff, ask me not to post pictures on Facebook, on our district Facebook page, because they didn't want it to somehow get ripped apart or misconstrued or show up on another Facebook page and be kind of a part of that. So now we've got staff kind of on pins and needles in terms of the things that are being put out there on Facebook. I've seen horrible things written about individual staff members, administrators. I don't know the answer other than I have to be able to put this out publicly, if nothing else, to be able to support my staff and the work that we're doing here every day. Man, wouldn't this be a fantastic time to kind of wrap our arms together and talk about the great things that are happening, and let's talk about how do we get better. Let's talk about, man, Shannon, that decision was horrible. Tell me more about that. You bet. We may not agree, but man, it is out of control in my opinion, and I don't know how to fix it, but somehow we have to start thinking about how that is impacting the day-to-day operations here in our district. And again, I'm going to end this, sorry for my rant. This is not about the referendum. Vote yes, vote no. The referendum, April 5th, will be over. This is bigger picture of what are we creating here? What is the narrative that we want our kids, our families, our students, our staff kind of living every day? And right now it is not in a good place. Listening to our staff today, we've got to do better. So thank you for allowing me to rant about social media. That's all I have for my report.
I do have a question for you.
Yes.
The video, I think, is a great idea. Is there any way, this is maybe not possible, but can Brandon do like a 30-second to 1 minute overview of what you're going to talk about tomorrow? Something that can be shared on social media that has the facts, because if it's the whole presentation, nobody's going to watch an hour video. It's a great idea to get the actual video, to get the guy, somebody from PMA explaining. You know, I don't know if they can put something together for social media.
Well, we have the video that's on the district website. I don't think PMA was part of that.
No.
But I'm just thinking, you know, if they, because now you know all these things that are being said. Is there a way to grab some of the big topics that are wrong and address them?
Yeah.
And if we can get it shared, and people can just share and repost.
Right. Yep. Great idea. Thank you.
Financial reports? Can you talk about that? Or enrollment? Okay, on to advanced operations. Building budget presentations. Somebody go first?
That's you.
Whoop. Look at me kicking us off. Good evening, everyone. It is that time of year when we talk about the budgets at the building levels. If you want to click, thank you. So we have two main budget areas. We have our Fund 10 budgets, which are classroom budgets, building supplies, our common school funds, which is in our LMC, subscriptions, books, those kinds of things. Professional learning and building maintenance. That is a fund in our Fund 10 that is finite, has a beginning and an end each year. Our Fund 21 accounts are our activity accounts. Those roll over. So funds that are generated in those accounts can last for years. We get small grants, donations from anonymous people, or even people that give us donations. Our student councils operate under that. Part of it is I use a lot of that for fun things for kids, that kind of things. And each grade level gets can put money in and operate through the Fund 21, which rolls over continually. Yes?
Who applies for those grants?
So here's one example, okay? So if somebody knows somebody that works at 3M, they can reach out to 3M and designate the school, and then 3M gives us monies towards our Fund 21, okay? You can designate, you used to be able to do something called Amazon Smile. You could designate a percentage of what you spent on Amazon to a school. That's where that money kind of goes into that Fund 21. Does that answer that, Bruce?
Also, if I have like teachers like the Everwood Farmstead Association, which is a local one that does arts and supports arts projects through schools, I've had staff receive that. So instead of creating another line item in Fund 21, I roll it into like the middle school principal's account, and then when they need to spend the money just comes out of the middle school principal's account instead of setting up yet another budget line. So it's just a way to clean it up. So when teachers receive a small grant such as that, because that's usually $1,000 or less, we put it in there and then we just work together as they're spending it out. That's just
another great example. Remember when Learn to Love was here last month? They applied for a grant, received that grant. That money then they came out of Fund 21. So it kind of goes in, they use it, it goes out.
Thank you.
So this is my budget. It really doesn't change much. In the 5 years I've been here, it doesn't really change a huge amount of money, about $134,000. What happens is I've got kind of these different chunks. So classroom budgets, every teacher gets us so much money that they can spend on supplies for their classrooms. And I mean, it's adjusted as needed if teachers need more, if a special project comes up. Then there's my office of the principal, so like where I do guest speakers, birthday celebrations. So every month we celebrate birthdays, we do a craft together, we have a treat. That's where I would use that money for my principal's budget. You can kind of see we've done a lot of work with responsive classroom, purchasing books. We've had Kathy Cranston in a few times with restorative practices. Any kinds of professional learning, professional needs that teachers or staff would have. Office furniture, so like we had a table that broke in our office, replacing that table. Any kind of office needs.
Other things, anything school-wide student incentives, like for JK registration, I purchased little swag bags for the kids. That kind of thing comes out of this budget. Then our common school funds, that is run through our LMC. So that is where Alex Bella is in my library, my media center. She purchases subscriptions, magazines, books, those kinds of purchases come out of there. And then finally is our building maintenance budget. And I work with Tim, mostly Marshall and Brian, on kind of upcoming things that are happening. Right now, I've been in the process for the last few years of replacing lunchroom tables. So I purchase 2-3 tables a year till we get all new lunchroom tables. And probably by then, we'll start it again. But we are, as tables break or are damaged, we keep purchasing lunchroom tables. So I will work with them, kind of what's coming up, what do we need to spend our money on. Questions about the elementary school? Next, I think, is high school.
I don't have my sunglasses on because I'm cool, so I shared a 30-second video this morning about coming back from spring break, and if you watch wrestling at all, a mom got upset and like wrecked her glasses, and then after the meeting today for PD, my glasses broke in half, so these are like prescriptions, so if I need to read, that's why I have them. So similar to what Pam said, you can see the budgets that we have at the high school. Really, again, for the department budgets, depends on like a lot of our CTE, a lot of consumables that they have, and prices go up there, but the allocations that we have there, as Pam said as well, the common school fund that supports the work of our LMCs, a separate account from there. And then Office of the Principal, bigger things that we have coming up, our graduation and celebration of excellence that we pay for. Really a lot of the work that we've done, dug deeper with the current strategic plan, but our cycles as well. We did have an honor retreat for the staff as they came back in February to continue to foster the place that we want it to be in our building. And then just other supplies that come up. We had ACT prep for all of our juniors, which I think was a great opportunity for them. And then working with Tim with any site needs. So similar, not much different there, but just a couple different focus areas. Any questions?
Usually I get to lead it off, so I'm last this year, so you get to hear lots of the same. So I also have the same chunks of money as the other couple of buildings. We do adjust as we set our classroom budget in the beginning of the year. Teachers monitor that. There are some times where things come up where we have, unpredicted art supply increase costs and things, and so we have to adjust as it goes. It's all coming from that same pot of money, the 121.9. The Common School Fund does support the work of our LMC, books, subscriptions, all that awesome stuff. In the middle school, out of the Office of the Principal, student rewards, when we fill our golden ticket board, we get an all-school reward, Student of the Month rewards. We brought breakfasts back this year, which has been awesome, and it's been great to get people back in the building. If a classroom wants a guest speaker and it's not going to fit in their budget, I work to support that. If we have all-school, things like that as well. Strategic plan execution, top 20 and courage retreats. We've done a lot of work this year in restorative practices, and we're pretty grateful that we have the mental health grant to support a lot of that work, but then I'll also support that out of the building offices as well. Any professional learning, if we have office supplies, staff rewards, agendas, flexible seating, that sort of piece. If somebody comes and says, I'd like to try this, we're gonna give it a shot. And then building maintenance, working with Tim to plan for updates and that sort of thing. Like Pam, we've also been replacing some of our lunch tables as they are getting older. Middle school kids like to try to put as many kids at one table as possible, and it's not really easy to eat that way. So we've been replacing them with kind of more of an oblong single seat, and that has been really awesome, and they're much easier for our custodial staff to move and clean around. So some of our old tables may actually end up down at the elementary school as we continue to pull some things through. And then ever since we've done our referendum, the keys around the middle school have been nothing short of a massive annoyance. We're on 2 different systems right now because some of our doors and locks were replaced and some of them were not. So I've kind of been like a little buzzer in Tim's ear for quite a while, just keeping it in his ear all the time because it costs a lot to rekey, but it's something that we need to think about doing just for ease of like keeping the building as secure as it can be. That's what I got.
I have a question about, kind of in line with Bruce's. I think it's the 5th grade, they do like a fundraiser for field trips.
Yep.
How come no other grades do that? And does that money go into that 121 as well?
Yep, so they have, so that would be one of the grade levels that was in there. Yep, that's their, it used to be called the CBUC fund, we call it, but they use Class Community now because it's just easier to donate.
through there. They used to do like a big like Club's Choice fundraiser for it, and so this is the first year they've actually switched to do just kind of a straight donation. And they do that just given how they structure their monthly rewards and stuff, it would get to be pretty expensive for families to be paying for something, so they're able to fund some of that each month. So it's just in order to give it right back to the kids. Yep.
Is the keying problem, they're all proximity readers, right? Bruce, this would be a good question.
But there's keys on the doors.
No.
Like the
A
classroom
physical
doors.
key.
It's classroom keys that
Okay.
are, and so like if I have a best key, I can get into the rooms that I need to get into. But if I have an old schlag, I don't know, I have, then it's much more, like if you only have the schlag, you can't access some of the other areas that are keyed with the best. So it's been a bit of a challenge, but we're working through it. So.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Activities and athletics.
Awesome. All right, thanks, everybody. So I'll be talking about our athletics and activities budget. So there's different activities and athletics that we talk about in the district. Also to note that we have various clubs that we recognize. Those are not funded by the district. Those are independent things that take place, but athletics and activities primarily is what I'm talking about with this. So in regards to athletics at the high school level, all high schools in the state of Wisconsin are a member of the WIA. So that's our kind of our governing body that sets the rules and regulations, season lengths, tells us how many games we can play, what the postseason, all of that looks like. Locally, we're a member of the Middle Border Conference for majority of our sports, except girls hockey. There's not a girls hockey conference for the Middle Border Conference because we're a co-op with, I think, 3 or 4 other schools from the Middle Border. So we're actually in the Big Rivers Conference for girls hockey. Have a breakdown of our sports at the high school level by season, fall, winter, and spring. One thing I would like to point out on there, with wrestling, there's been some changes over the last couple of years now where there is a separate girls bracket in the state of Wisconsin for wrestling. Last year was the first year. They did that state tournament down at La Crosse. This year the state tournament was a part of the boys state tournament down in Madison. At Somerset, we have not had any girls at the high school level participate in wrestling. However, as our youth numbers have grown and at the middle school level, that has continued to grow, we do anticipate having at least 1 female wrestler at the high school level next year. So a lot of the tournaments that they go to, it'll be the same tournaments that the boys go to, but there's a separate bracket for that, but there is a separate postseason now. So that encompasses our sports at the high school level. Different activities that are officially sanctioned and sponsored by the district. So these activities follow our extracurricular code of conduct for grades, behavior, AODA, all of those aspects. These activities are not sanctioned by the WIAA. That's one difference between the state of Wisconsin and the state of Minnesota. Cross the river in Minnesota, their state high school league will sanction a lot of the activities. In Wisconsin, the WIAA only sanctions the athletic team. So these are separate independent organizations, but these are officially sanctioned and sponsored by the district. At the middle school level, we have a variety of programs with athletics, and we have drama with activities as well. Middle school drama. Our budget overall picture for the 22-23 school year comes in at about 189. That is not factoring in the stipends for our coaches or their salaries, things like that, or transportation. That's a separate piece of the puzzle for the district. If you break that down by the different categories that I just talked about, high school athletics, that's about 80% of the budget. High school activities is about 13%. Middle school athletics is about 5.9%, and middle school activities is less than a percentage. If you take that down even further, if you take that number overall and break it down even further into some more detail, about 47% of that is personnel related costs, which are your officials or referees, services that have to be done with maintaining equipment, like having football helmets reconditioned, things along that nature. Game workers, that's the bulk of what our percentages are. Those are very fixed based on the number of games that you're playing, and you have to have refs to run games. You can't just say, well, we're not going to hire refs for a game, right, to save money. 25% of that is revolving around entry fees, so we pay fees to be a member of the Middle Border Conference, entry fees when we go to tournaments, invites, things like that, state meals or hotels, coaching clinics, first aid and CPR training. And then about 27% of that is for general supplies, equipments, uniforms, pretty small piece of our puzzle when you look at the overall one, but that's what shakes out to be remaining for those types of discretionary, if you will, items. Other new expenses over the last couple of years that we've had to find ways to make fit within our budget that we hadn't had to think about before is when community ed went away. So things like our facility scheduling software, that was a shared expense with community ed. That's now taken on by the athletic department. Facility equipment needs, community ed was able to purchase different equipment because community was coming in and using programs and using our facilities, so things like new volleyball standards. If there's wear and tear on our facilities, some of that could be absorbed by community ed dollars. However, we don't have community ed anymore, so that any of those types of expenses typically come out of the athletic budget. And then,
before you go on, can I ask a question here? Can you go back a slide? All right, so all of these, community ed funding comes out of the school budget, correct? It's not like we get extra federal or state dollars, that's separate?
I wouldn't know the answer to that question.
Shannon, do you?
No, we don't get added, no.
So the money that was being set aside for community ed should have at least part of it gone to the athletic department because they're picking up expenses that community ed share?
I'm not sure. We'd have to ask Dave what exactly the
Okay, I'm gonna have to write that down then. So
progression
I'm
was.
gonna ask. Thank you.
In terms of revenue, so we have a variety of revenue sources. The main one ends up being gate. So when we have athletic events that we charge admission at, gate is a revenue source for that. Entry fees, so if we are hosting any sort of event where it's a multi-team event, entry fees get collected with that to help with revenues. Registration fees, so our kids pay an activity fee or an athletic fee when they register. Concessions is a piece of that, fundraisers, donations, and then the one at the bottom there, hosting WIA tournament events. Part of that gate, there's a formula that the WIA uses. They get obviously a large portion of it because it's their tournament, but we still get a portion of that back for hosting those events, which I'll get into in another slide there. One other piece here with revenues, we have different sources of reimbursements. So when we have a athletic team qualify for WIA state, like if we have a cross-country runner qualify for state next fall over in Wisconsin Rapids, we get reimbursed for some of those expenses coming back. We had a girls golfer make it this last fall down to Madison. We get some reimbursement back from the WIA for that. A few years ago, our hockey team made it to state down in Madison. We get some refunding or reimbursements back from the WIA to help offset the cost for transportation, hotels, meals, things along those natures. When a non-WIA team goes to a state tournament, we get zero reimbursement from those organizations for it, from their entities. That's 100% funded by the district then. Hockey co-ops is another example of some reimbursements. So boys hockey, we co-op with St. Croix Falls and Valley Christian in Osceola. There's a formula that we use with the participating schools. Same thing in girls hockey with Amory, New Richmond, St. Croix Falls, and Osceola, based on the number of participants from each school. So we take the overall expenses with reffing costs, entry fees, game workers, busing, coaches, stipends, things like that. That all gets added up and then divided by the number of participants by each school, and then those expenses are shared amongst the schools. So if you look at how much is spent on some of our co-ops, Somerset School District isn't paying 100% for that because we're recouping some of those revenues back from the other schools. And then the other piece that I would put on here is the robotics. So I write a grant with DPI where we actually just found out about 2 weeks ago, they were kind of behind on getting those numbers out to schools this year, but we get a grant from DPI to help fund our robotics team. We have to match that at the local level, but we do get a good amount of money back from them on that. One thing I just wanted to note, last year in the winter we had implemented an online ticketing platform called TicketsPick. This was our second year utilizing it. We primarily use it in the fall with football and then a little bit during volleyball. In the winter we didn't really use it on a night-to-night basis. It was more so when we were hosting tournament events and our musical, which we found to be beneficial to be able to sell tickets in advance so we can anticipate the crowds coming. It helps efficiency at the gates. For the musical, it's worked out very nicely both years because people can go in and pick their seats ahead of time, so they know where they're sitting when they come and they show up. This will still offer a cashless option for fans. That's not going away. But especially when we've hosted some of the WIA tournament events where you're having large crowds come through. Hockey, we hosted 2 sectional finals in one day. We're not having to worry about what the ticket count from each school and then getting a check from them and hope that the tickets match and all that type of stuff. It's all digital. The money gets deposited right to the district, and that has worked out really, really well for us. And then I've just got 2 slides just kind of giving an overview. I'm not going to talk about them in depth of all the tournament events we've hosted over the past 4 years now. Some of them are just by nature of our teams playing and having home games, and then some are by nature of we put in to be selected as a host site for some of the sectional games or regional games, and we've been chosen multiple times now to have some of these events. This past winter we hosted 2 sectional finals for hockey, the boys game and the girls game, and then we were supposed to have a sectional final for basketball. That got moved, and then they gave us a different one, which actually worked out pretty nice. It was on a Thursday night, and I think we drew over 1,400 people for that game. So each year we've been able to host some nice events, and I think that's because we've got a great team of people that are helping us execute those. So it's always nice when we can continue to get those. That's all I got.
On slide 9, hockey admission, does the district pay to use the rink?
The district does not pay to use the rink.
Okay. Is that why you don't collect the admission?
Correct.
Even for the WIAA events?
The tournament events are separate. We do have to do the oversight on that, correct, because it's a tournament event. Yep.
Baseball, softball, does the district pay to use those fields in the village or maintain them, or is there any cost?
So I don't believe we pay a fee to use them. We do during the season take care of lining the fields, but as far as like dragging the fields and mowing and the actual maintenance of it, the village does that.
You do all that stuff. And then just fees for registration fees. Hockey's really high compared to others. Is there a formula you use to determine registration fees or costs?
Our fees have been, so this is my 5th year as the athletic director, and fees that we're currently charging, we've been charging before that. I don't know how long they've been in place. We did look at raising them, I think either in my 1st or 2nd year, and there just wasn't a desire to do that at that point. I mean, typically there's some comparisons with other area schools to get to those numbers. Yeah, that's how we typically get there. But we have not revisited them in at least 3 years, and I know they haven't been raised in at least 5, if not 6. I don't think they were raised the year before I got here either.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve as listed?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda 5A1, 5B1, 5C1 and 2.
Motion on the table by Bruce.
I will second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for adding the years of service start date to the employee exits.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. General information, April 3rd is the work session. April 17th will be a regular session with the listening session 30 minutes prior. And once we're on the table.
About the regular session, I'm a bit confused because we got another invitation for April 17th that said it was from 6 until 10.
So Dr. Pritzel will be here on the 17th. I put 6 to 10 just for my own reminder that he's going to be there for that meeting, but it'll be a similar format to when he came to our last meeting. So at the conclusion, probably plan for another 2 hours or so after the meeting that particular night.
Okay.
So ignore the time. The time is kind of confusing. It was just more of my own placeholder for that he was coming back that night.
Okay.
So the meeting will start at 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
and it
normal.
concludes
Yep.
We'll just go into.
Yep, yes.
Board development, okay, perfect. What's on the table? Marge, do you want to start?
I just was thinking back on what I brought up, the reading specialist before in the classrooms, and wondered if she's doing anything face-to-face with the kids or not.
Do you know, I'm trying to remember, I briefly recall that, do you remember when that was, the meeting?
No, I don't.
Or what exactly you're looking for?
Well, I want to know if she's working with the kids.
Okay.
Because the teachers need help.
Do you know what the direction is?
Well, I guess are you hoping for, would you like a report from Trish in terms of like what that job is doing, or what would be most
We
helpful?
could probably meet her and see what she's doing too. She could
Ha-
tell us.
Mindy?
Yeah.
We could do a combo.
Okay.
Okay, so you want more information about the reading specialist and what she's doing?
And if she's meeting with the kids
If she's
face to
meeting with
face,
kids.
or just telling them what to do, the teachers.
Okay.
Anything else, Marge?
No.
Sheree?
I would like to recommend, if our school board candidates would be willing, we've got 4 candidates that will be on the election or on the ballot on the 4th, April 4th. Everybody get out and vote. But perhaps at our April 3rd meeting, we could have each of them do the 3-minute during our public speaking portion and just tell a little bit about themselves and why they're running. I think that might be a good opportunity for people to get to meet the candidates if they're not able to go to the event next week, right?
28th. I'm in favor of extending an invitation to them.
Yeah, love that.
Is
And
that something that-
congratulations to the robotics team too. That was so fun to see what they created.
Is that something you guys want to facilitate
can,
reaching out, or
yeah.
is that?
Sure.
We can talk about it too. Next Tuesday, I'll bring it up when we're at that meeting.
And if they're not able to be here on site, maybe call in.
Perfect. Bruce?
Yeah, like, sure, there's a meeting next Tuesday at the library. 6 o'clock, for Meet the Candidates. I think it's not just school board, it's town board, it's village. I think it's everybody. This would be a forum put on by the chamber at the library next Tuesday night.
What time?
6. I think it starts at 6.
I want to say it was 6 to 8:30.
Yeah.
I can look at this.
We're gonna have a referendum table set up
Tuesday
there.
the 28th.
At the library.
Talk to
Yep.
governors and see if they.
So yeah, I think it's just
Mhm.
open forum, kind of like we've done with some other elections. The chamber did for a while, and I think someone came in, or Monet came in a while ago, one of the listening sessions and brought it up, and I think we're back at it, make sure we get something set up, so.
6:30
chambers-
to 8:30, sorry.
Okay. And then last meeting, I know Lori was kind of asking for the years of service, and I saw his name on there, so John Schultz, who was on there. And I don't know if anyone knows, and I can't remember, I thought he was here when I was teaching, we were trying to figure it out, or not teaching, when I was in school, but I think he'd been here for over 15 years, maybe close to 20, in Somerset, so I mean, that's, someone that was here is, obviously, he's done after this year, but just, it's a long time, so thank him for being here for that length of time, and, as a math, physics, I think, is what he was teaching here, so, at the high school. So just wanted to say that quick about him and thank him for being here for so long. Appreciate it. I remember him being here when I was subbing too, so, yeah, I didn't bring it up last week. We gotta bring food. When we bring the robotics teams in, we talked about it last year, we screwed this up last year because we haven't done that. We brought, remember, Alicia? We brought in cookies or something for one of the teams?
No,
Cookie
I don't
first
think
date?
Alicia ever did it.
Oh.
There was one, I got a cake.
There was cake.
So I guess when we do.
It was cake.
Yeah, it was cake. So make sure we do that when these kids do show up again. We got out of it with COVID, we need to get
Well,
back.
I think, Bruce,
into
that
it.
you were supposed to bring the cake.
You were gonna make it.
I-
So elect Bruce next time so he can make cakes.
Spring break. All right, but yeah, so all of us try to remember, if we see something like that where we know we're gonna have a group here let's make sure we get something, so we can take a little break and talk to them a little bit too. And then all conference teams are all on the website, so just look out there, we have a lot of all conference students. Just take a look at that. I mean, that's a lot of kids from all the winter sports, and then our own girls basketball coach was the Warder Conference or Coach of the Year. So Corey Lindbergh, just another positive in our district. That's it. A lot of them, sorry.
Lori?
Several community members have contacted me asking where to find information about school board candidates. And I know that there is a page of each of the candidates in the March 17th edition of the Spartan Scoop, but that's kind of hard for people to find. Alicia also just placed a link on the front page of the district website in one of those 3 tabs across the bottom. And she also linked to each candidate's name, and this is going to take you about 3 steps to get to it. But it's on the school district website, on the district tab, under the school board tab, there's a school board elections page. And each of the 4 candidates are listed there, and each of your pages from the Spartan Scoop now are linked to your name. So if people are looking for information, that's a place on the district website that they can find it. And thanks for sharing that there's going to be a Meet the Candidate item at the library on Tuesday, the 28th.
And it's on the school Facebook page too, right?
Yes.
That link is on
It
there.
is.
Are the profiles or the link?
Profiles, I think, are on that one.
Yep.
And any links anybody shared are on the profiles. Should be able to get everything you need.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thanks. Ian?
Just thanks to our student representative for her presentation. Great job with the robotics team. I'd like to thank Shannon for her rant. I agree. Just trying to remember that we all want the same thing, just maybe a different way.
Anything else? Nope, that's it. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Lori for running Ski Club for the year. This is our first year being involved in it personally, and my kids had an absolute blast. So thank you for all of the work you put in to facilitate that, and the bad weather days and getting extra days in the week. So thank you very much. It means a lot to all those kids that get on that bus on Tuesday. So they need something to do outside of just going home. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's all I have. Is there a motion to move into closed session
So moved.
I gotta read it.
pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, section 1C, to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the board has jurisdiction?
I will make a motion to adjourn into closed session as stated.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll adjourn into closed session at 7:08 p.m.